Yo, what's going on, Taka fam? So today I'm here with an interesting deck profile. This is pretty much Ashen, but it's not pure. They don't have enough cards to be a cohesive strategy, so I decided to do something cool, and it's pretty much like Veidos control, and I'll explain why. Alright, so for the main deck, we're starting off with 2 Veidos. I don't have a third one, but I'm actually thinking about playing 3 whenever I do get it. But basically, during either player's main phase, you get to target a field spell on the field, destroy it, summon it to their field, and then you can add or set an Ashen Continuous trap from the deck. So it's pretty cool. That's all one effect. The other effect is if it goes to your graveyard from your opponent's field, even if you do it, it gets to dark hold the whole field, which is actually pretty sick. Good interruption as well. And it can clog their zones for when they're trying to link summon. For the Ashen monsters, I'm playing a small engine because they're all bricks and they don't really do much of anything by themselves, but I'm playing 2 King. I like 2 King because I don't want to overdraw this card. As I've stated, they're pretty much all bricks. They do summon themselves from the hand if you do have their field spell opposite them on the field. He has a cool effect. During the main phase, you get to summon an Ashen monster from your hand, but if you control a monster with 2800 attack on their field, then you get to summon from the deck instead, which is actually really cool. And there's some combos, and I'll show you in a little bit. And for the last Ashen monster, I'm just playing the one hero. Hero is your main disruption, and why it's kind of more controlly, because you pretty much want to get to this guy and summon him to the field, pretty much. Yes, Priestess can do the same, but we don't really want to search too much of them, because having too many of them in the hand does absolutely nothing. But his effect, outside of being able to be summoned if opposite him is on the field, you get to, during the main phase, target a pyro monster on the field. So even against Snake Eye, since all their monsters are pyros, pretty cool. You get to just pop it. And if you pop Veidos, then you get to place opposite them their field spell from the deck into the field zone. So that's actually really good. And this is one of your main forms of interruption. And I'll explain why after. And then for some other like non-engine type cards, I'm playing 3 Alpha Master Beasts. This is my cool little tech. I actually like this a lot because you can do this a lot during your opponent's turn. So the reason why it's cool is because you get to use Veidos to blow up a field spell, and then Alpha can put it back in your hand. And they'll always have the monster with the highest attack on the field. So you're always able to keep spamming it. Also, I'm playing 2 Pankratops. Yes, it seems like a lot of going second cards, but believe it or not, this deck is built to go first, but it can go second. The reason why this is cool is because of Veidos. Because you actually can summon Pank turn 1. So you give them Veidos, and because they control a monster and you don't, boom, you can just summon Pank. And then whenever you play your other cards, you get to just bounce them back to your hand. And then this Pank just becomes pretty much a destruction and disruption during their turn. I'm playing 3 Kaijus. So I chose Radiant because he has 2800 attack, which is actually relevant for King to be able to summon from deck. So that's another reason why it's really cool playing this. And level 7, which is not super relevant because this deck doesn't use the extra deck, but just being able to clear monsters, and because of like Alpha and stuff like that, you get to consistently keep clearing monsters. And then for the last main deck monster, I'm playing 1 Maximus. So yes, I'm playing the Deer Servant because this deck does not use the extra deck. And a hint, post side, this deck is super good as a shifter deck because its graveyard literally does not matter and its extra deck does not matter. So you can use Maximus game 1, and then post side, you can side out the whole Nadir package for shifters and stuff. So it's actually really cool. And just getting free draws and stuff, we pretty much use him for utility. And then spells, 3 Servant, as I've stated before. This is good because this gives you draws. This deck doesn't really care about getting drolled because most of their cards either place cards or just move around cards like droll. This is one of the only cards in the deck that plays into droll consistently. But you don't necessarily have to play this engine. It's just something I've been testing. Another cool card, actually one of my favorite cards in this deck, Awakening of Veidos. So this is how you consistently get to Veidos. because I'm not playing a rank 4 package to play Banshee, which I probably will be testing in the future. I just got to figure out what kind of rank 4 engine I want to play. But basically, it's a quick play spell, and you get to just place Obsidian from the deck into either zone. So the way that this works is you place the Obsidian into their zone, and if your opponent has a field spell, then you get to search a level 5 or higher Dark Pyro, which is Veidos. So this is a pretty cool combo, and because it's a quick play, you get to just do it during the draw phase to avoid draw. And this card does lock you into summoning from the deck and extra deck Pyro monsters, but who cares? This deck literally don't do any extra deck summoning. And if we do, it's very rare. And for the best card in the deck, because the deck, is centered around it. So this field spell does a lot, but literally nothing at all. So during your turn, or like the player who controls this during their opponent's turn, all their specials on monsters become Pyros, which is relevant for, what is this guy? The Hero. Because Hero could target Pyro monsters on the field and blow them up once per turn. And the other effect of this card, which is actually cool, is during the end phase, if you have another one of these in the grave, you put this to the bottom of the deck and draw a card. So you cycle through these every turn. Your goal is to always have 2 in rotation. You have 1 in grave, so every turn you get a draw. And then you have the one in your field spell zone. So by your next turn, you destroy the one in your zone to keep the cycle going pretty much. So it's like a resource loop that always gives you a draw. So hand traps could be pretty good in this deck, but I haven't quite tested them too much. And then I play 1 random field spell. I'm thinking like other ones that I want to play, but right now I'm playing Zombie World. You can play whichever one you want because I do play set rotation. And this is not bad because certain decks do take specific types to summon, so it's not bad. But it's also good against flu, I guess. But you can play any field spell in this spot. Then for the others, this is pretty much just terraforming and set rotation, so more copies of any field spell in your deck. And disrupting your opponent by giving them a field spell over like their island when they use it. Because island just has to be destroyed. I think that even counts for game mechanic, so I'm not sure. But y'all could fact check me on that. Super Poly. Like I said, this deck doesn't really go into the extra deck, but it's just a cool bomb card. Free discards, I guess. But being able to take your opponent's monsters and clear them is pretty good, especially the ones that you give them. I'm also testing out 3 Demise of the Land. So you do want to get to Obsidian as often as possible, and this is good. Obviously, it used to be better with Mystic Mind, but getting Obsidian whenever they special summon is good because it turns on Veidos, and that plus Veidos pretty much gives you any monster in your deck, Ashen monsters at least. So it's decent. My tech for it as well, I'm playing 2 Foolish Burial Goods. Like I said, you want to have 2 Obsidian in rotation. This card probably could be cut in the future, but I've been testing it and it seems to be decent. So, call by, just for like random hand traps, I guess. But this deck doesn't really play into any hand traps like that. But it's just a good bomb card. And like I said, graveyards don't really matter in this deck. For the trap cards, Ashened for Eternity. So most cases you want to play 1. But most times, if they do clear 1, you may as well just search another one with Veidos and just hold it in your hand for later. But pretty much on activation, this adds Veidos back from the graveyard. And then it has another cool effect, which is pretty much Owner Seal. So you could target a monster on your opponent's field that you own and take it back. And then the monster that you take back, you get to lower all your opponent's monsters by the attack of the monster you lowered. Well, by the monster you took. So if you give them like a kaiju or something, that's 2,800 off of all their monsters. And that lasts to the end of the turn. So it's really good. Pretty much it's like Veidos control. Like I said, you just give them monsters and you keep taking them. That's why you don't necessarily really need a solidified engine, at least right now. And the last card in the deck, Summon Limit. actually really funny because this deck can play under summon limit very easily. And this is a very controlled deck. So you want to slow the game down as much as you can. So with summon limit, letting your opponent only summon twice, and then you keeping the biggest monster at all times, pretty much puts them in the pickle. Puts them in the worst kind of situations, you know. For the extra deck, it doesn't matter that much, but most of these are for like Nadir Servant. But there are a few that we can summon. So Ints. For Maximus, when you go in second, you could pop cards. You can even pop your own field spell to get summoned from your deck, which is really good. Some of the main Super Poly targets that I chose. Draco Equise for Manadium. Dragocepelia for like Branded or Tier. This is my personal tech. I like this card as well. Almerduke. So he takes 3 Link monsters, which if the Snake Eye decks do the Zelantis OTK against you, most of their inboards end on 3 Link monsters, and that's pretty good. But he does have another effect which might not be relevant in this deck. So if you battle a monster, you get to banish a Link monster with the same rating and then burn them for that monster's attack. And he's 3,000, and I believe he can attack everything. I'm not sure. Yeah, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. So you literally get to attack everything, burn, which is actually really good. And you get to consistently do it as long as you have the Link monsters to do it. So if you summon this and you threw away a bunch of Link monsters, you get to clear the board and keep burning them. So you could do a random OTK with that too. And Mud Dragon, just generic and pretty easy. Unfortunately, I don't have a Garuda, but I will get one in the future. So you can play that as well. And then I'm playing Enigmaster Packbit. So this card's cool. If it's synchro summon or sent to the graveyard, you have to target a monster in your grave, discard a card, and then place it into the spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. So most times you're going to target this guy. The other effect, during either player's turn, you get to target a monster in either player's spell and trap zone as a continuous trap, and you get to summon it, I believe. Yeah, you get to special summon it, but most cases it doesn't come up in this deck, but the fact that you can keep using it is actually pretty good. Generic little card. It probably could be an Omega because Omega is more consistent. So you actually can summon this. So it takes 2 level 8s, and some of your board breaker monsters are level 8, and this is a Pyro. So if you do get locked in the Pyros, you can still make this. And this could pop your Obsidian to give you a free monster out of your deck. And obviously on summon, it nukes every other monster, which is actually relevant. Aggregator, it's just a free negate that you can send off Maximus. And it's weird situations you can actually summon it, believe it or not, because Veidos is level 9 and this is a rank 9. Ding is just a free card. Like I said, the extract don't matter. Now for links, some of these you actually can summon. So I like actually playing Geonator Transverser. It's cool because as you saw in the concept, you do give your opponent monsters. So there is an argument to play like Ken and Jin, but I was testing it in the first build. But I might go back to playing them again. But just whenever you give them a Kaiju or you give them Veidos or something like that, you get to just swap them and give them bad monsters that they can't use and then swap them. And anything that's pointing to it can't be destroyed by card effects. So, yep. So if you somehow give them a hero and you take their Veidos, they can't kill it. The 2 nightmares that I play, Phoenix or Cerberus, it can come up. Most of the time you're locked, but other than that, it's just clearing floodgates and killing annoying monsters. And 2 Farragut. Only for a Nadir Servant, pretty much. Just having a free draw and then a put back is actually good to help fix your hands. So let me show you a quick combo that I came up with. So the 2-card combo. You could play Awakening Veidos and you play Alpha. So during the draw phase, you just activate. So you place the Obsidian, I'm just put it right here. And then because you place it in your opponent's, you get to now search Veidos. So now this is your hand. You have Veidos and Alpha. This now in the grave. So now you can activate Veidos. Target the field spell you gave your opponent. Give it to them. And resolve its effect in hand to set the trap. So I'm going to leave the trap face up for now. And now because your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack stats, you get to summon Alpha. And the Alpha could target itself, and then just bounce this to the hand non-target. So now you cleared your board like this. So now if your opponent wants to play, then they get punished. But now there was a part that I missed. So that's just if you didn't want to use Obsidian. But let me show you the full way to do it. So same thing during draw phase. Activate. Place the Obsidian. And search Veidos. And then you go main. Veidos, target this to destroy it. Set the trap. And now you activate Obsidian. And now we're going to summon the king. King's effect. Because your opponent controls a monster with 2,800 or more attack, you get to summon one from deck. So that's why not having that many is good. Because you don't really want to draw these guys. Like I said, as you can see, they're all pretty much bricks. So now what you can do, his effect, you target the Veidos, kill it, and you place the other Obsidian from the deck. So now remember what I told you. You always want to keep 2 in cycle. So even before you even use the King's effect, we can go back. So keep this still in the deck. The Veidos is still in the field. So when you summon this, because this has 1,400, this is 28, Alpha can still summon itself. So what if you want to do that play, you can, of course. Then you can go effect of the king. We're going to summon him. Pop in this. And because of the trap card, we get to add him back. But we're not going to worry about that yet. Worst case, we can do this as well. Because we are locked. This is level 8. This is level 8. And this is where we can summon Hyung. And this could also pop spells and traps, as I said. And it also can Raigeki everything. So that's what I meant by sometimes we can actually make them. But in this combo, since you kind of don't want to make him unless you need to, you just kind of keep the Alpha in your hand. And during your end phase, you get to put this back to the bottom of the deck. So now you still have 2 in cycle. And then you draw a random card. Then during your opponent's turn, you can go draw phase, activate the trap. Now the Veidos is back in your hand. So now, because this is on your field, you now have another disruption. Because you can either summon this to their field by blowing this up, and then you can get to the other ones. You can get to another king. Just so you don't draw bad Ashen monsters or anything, because we only play 3. So it's easy. Now you don't really have to worry about it. And now you can use this to nuke this if they decide to play. Yes, you can end up nuking your own board, but you don't care as much if they're trying to play. But most times you kind of just block them and you nuke it whenever you need to clear all these. And like I said, you still had a card like Alpha in your hand and a random draw. So I know those are kind of silly, but kind of funny combos. But there's also another combo that you can do. It's pretty simple, actually. It's just Nadir Servant. And you could also, if you have Awakening, it's the same situation. These are 2 power spells, but we can do Nadir Servant first. So we activate Servant. What we can do here is send Farragut, search Max, and now we can go new chain effect, draw a card, put a random card back, banish, activate to banish, and now we use Max effect. Max effect can send anything that we might need. So if we're going second, we can send a negate, But in this situation, what I will do, if we drew bad cards, we could potentially use this. Well, we can't use this again, but we can use this, send it. It don't really matter. Any 2 cards. You can have a negate, and you could use this to place this in the spell and trap zone randomly if you want to discard card to get them in the grave for whatever reason. Like if you drew an Obsidian and you have access to a second one to make sure that you always have one. The next combo is the same kind of 2-card combo with these two. So we can go draw phase to play around draw. Send this. Add max. Oop, sorry. I went ahead of myself. We're actually supposed to be resolving this. So we're going to go do the whole Veidos play. Place this in their spell and trap zone. And then we get to the Veidos. And then we go activate Veidos, destroy Obsidian, and set the trap. So now we have the trap set. This will trigger getting to our monsters, pretty much our last 3 monsters. So we're going to summon the king, and then we're going to use king's effect because we have this. We get to summon the hero. And now what we could do to protect ourselves is, because with this play, this also plays around imperm as well. So now we can go to Dear Servant, send, search, and then Farragut will let us get a draw. And then we put a card back. Doesn't matter what it is. Activate Maximus here. Use Maximus effect to send whatever. So if we want to like self-nuke, we definitely can. Like by sending this to the graveyard. And we could send this. Or in this case, you could probably send something like this, Omega, or whatever else. We're just going to send like 2 throwaway cards. We don't really care. We're not getting like any real end phase effects here. Now we can activate his effect while we're still protected from imperm. Blow him up. And then we're going to place the field spell once again. But this time it's on our field. So now in phase, we also get another draw by putting this back to the bottom of the deck. Draw another random card. So we drew 2 random cards. We have this set up, and we only summon 4 times. And then during their turn, we also have the trap card, which can add this back, add the Veidos back. So now we have another disruption. So if they don't want to self-trigger the Veidos, we can do it ourselves. We can give them the Veidos by destroying this. We could summon King or whatever, which coincidentally was one of the random cards I drew. Summon King just to put another body for defense. And then if they want to play, we can blow this up. And if they don't want to play, we can just use the trap to just take it. So pretty much hard to die in this deck as well. But yeah, that's kind of like my little fun, cool deck that I came up with. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.